Hey there, everyone. Happy game day. I feel like we've been talking about this all week, waiting for Arkansas to start the NCAA tournament. Of course, a 3 seed, their first game against 14 seed Colgate. Really looking forward to this matchup. Should be a fun one. Since this matchup was announced, everyone's been talking about it's going to be high scoring, it's going to be fast paced. So I think we're about to get a really exciting game between these two teams. I can't talk about it by myself. So that means I have to bring in our main sports analyst, of course, Mike Irwin. Mike, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Did you watch any of the playing games, by the way?
Some.
Yeah? They're exciting. First four was kind of exciting last night. I didn't get to watch overtime. It was a little late for me and I fell asleep.
I have to admit, I switched over and watched A&M Florida baseball.
How was that?
It was okay.
Yeah.
Florida killed them, but whatever.
Right. All right. So let's talk about this Arkansas Colgate matchup. When you really do the research, and I know that you have, we'll get to your keys to the game here in a second, but just your overall thoughts on these two teams going head to head.
Well, Colgate has all these gaudy numbers. I mean, they're top 10 in the country in a lot of things: points per game, scoring margin, field goal percentage, 3-point shooting. They do all this stuff really good. They're really good shooters. And they have kind of an underrated inside game. They can score. They've got two guys, a 6 that they rotate in and out, a 6'10 forward and a 6'11 guy. But mostly it's their shooters. And when you look at they play 10 guys, but basically have a 7-man rotation. And if you look at the shooting percentage of these guys, 40%, 50%, 47%, 47%, 61%, 64%, 57%. They're just all shooters.
Yeah,
you got to play defense on these guys.
It's pretty impressive. Let's go ahead and hear from Eric Musselman and his thoughts on this Colgate Raiders team.
I don't think it hurts. I mean, you look at Burns. I mean, he torched Tennessee as a younger player. So I think that we've showed our guys tape of what they did when they played Tennessee, and that game was so close. And we have incredible respect for Colgate, their personnel. We know they're great cutters. We know they can shoot the three. We know their two guards are dynamic. We know their big men understand their roles. They're a really well-coached team. Their coaching staff does a great job with their team. And we're well aware that many of the national media members, have come up with the prediction that, Colgate's a favorite in this game too. So all those things we're well aware of.
All right, so he's there talking about just what Colgate brings to the table. Of course, this is going to be a big game for Arkansas. You get past this one, and you're just kind of setting yourself up, get the nerves out a little bit of a game one situation in the NCAA tournament. This is a Colgate team that took Tennessee to the wire 77-70 back in 2019. So on your screen, you see Mike's keys to the game. The first one, Mike, you say stop the Raiders' three-point shooting.
Well, for instance, you mentioned that 2019 Tennessee game, Tennessee a 2 seed, and Jordan Burns hits 8 threes in that game, scores 32 points. They're actually returning 3 guys that combined for 52 points in that game, and they're all the shooters. So, yeah, that's a big key. You've got to cover those guys up, but the problem is when you cover them up, they don't just stand there. They can move and they can attack the basket when you do that.
Yeah, so that goes into straight to your second key, which is defend the Raiders guards when they penetrate to the basket.
Yeah, you're going to have Jalen Williams and Justin Smith in there, forcing those guys, giving those guys some competition inside. Don't let them go. What happens when you look at video of them this year, when their guards penetrate, when they go around, and a lot of their opponents, and they're playing the same 3 teams over and over in the regular season. And so they know each other pretty well, but when they're out there guarding on the perimeter, if you cover them up, they're quick enough they can go around you, and there's no real inside presence. Well, there's a big difference between some of those teams and what Arkansas can do inside. So you're going to have to really swat. We're going to have to see some block shots, some altered shots without fouling, because you don't want to send these guys to the free throw line because they're great free throw shooters too.
All right, and your final key to victory for the Razorbacks is dominate the paint.
Well, that's what Tennessee did. If you look at this game in 2019, Colgate outscored Tennessee by 18 points from behind the arc. Tennessee outscored them by 18 points in the paint The difference ended up being free throw shooting and points off turnovers. And Arkansas is good at forcing turnovers, so it's almost like Tennessee's formula to win, even though it was a close game, should be the formula that Arkansas should follow.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We've got boots on the ground, by the way. I don't know how many were watching some of our stories yesterday, but our Troy Lynch heading to Indianapolis yesterday got stuck in the Chicago airport for quite a while. But the good news is he is finally in Indy to cover this game on the ground for us, get into the arena, which I'm not going to lie, I'm a little jealous about. But here he is before the game outside of the arena talking about the Razorbacks.
What is up, Alyssa? We are right outside the media entrance to Bankers Life Fieldhouse, the home for the first round of the NCAA tournament for your number 10 Arkansas Razorbacks, or should I say the number 3 seed in the south region of the NCAA tournament. They're getting ready to take on Colgate. We've been here since yesterday, and to be honest with you, the atmosphere, it was kind of disappointing because we didn't see a lot of Arkansas fans. What we did not know, Alyssa, was that they were all driving through the night, and they were piling in this morning. We saw fan after fan. I think it was around 6, but there are other fans that also told us that there was like restaurants full of Arkansas fans. So they're calling the Hogs, they're ready to go, and they're pumped up because this is the first time in a while the Arkansas Razorbacks have been this highly touted. I'm talking 25 years since the last time they made the Sweet 16. I'm talking 26 years since they've been ranked this high going into the big dance. And obviously this game against Colgate, a lot of Hog fans, a lot of just basketball people in general have the Hogs moving on to the second round, and a lot of them have it going to Sweet 16. But if you ask me, any Hog fan's going to tell you that they have them winning the national championship this year. So you can tell the atmosphere, it's getting loud, it's getting rambunctious, and Hog fans, they're starting to pile into downtown Indianapolis more and more by the minute. So it's been really fun, and we're hoping to talk with them a little bit more after the game today. Hopefully after a win, but just to see kind of their reaction to how the game ended up. So Alyssa, we're about to go into the media entrance right now. We need to watch the game. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, you got to love that from Troy. One, in great spirits, which you love to see, but obviously telling us fans are there, Mike. That's exciting. One element of this NCAA tournament that we've talked about a little bit, but we don't know really the experience in depth, is the fact that all these COVID protocols are happening. And so yesterday we were able to kind of catch up with Eric Musselman's wife, Danielle, and ask her how those COVID protocols are going for her, of course, her husband, and the team as well.
As a family, takes away a little bit of the fun because we're not going to get to celebrate anything with them, and we're not going to get to experience that excitement. We didn't get to travel with him, which is what we normally do, and that's really fun. So that's kind of out the door for us. Other than that, we're still having a great time. The guys, on the other hand, have been in that bubble, which I'm sure for any coach and any player is probably not the easiest thing. But now that we're this close to game time, I think the focus is kind of set in, and they're just locked in on that.
Mike, I think that Eric Musselman hated being locked into his room. One thing there with some of the video we were watching, he did get a Peloton somehow in his room and some weights and a jump rope, so at least he is able to get that workout in.
Well, it has to be a bizarre experience up there. You're almost trapped. There's been complaints about the food from all athletes. I read a thing last night that said some of these athletes were very close to just walking out and refusing to play, demanding more from the NCAA, basically saying you're going to make almost $1 billion off this NCAA tournament. We're not getting paid, and you can't even give us decent food. I'm no defender of the NCAA, but this is a COVID situation. It's not normal. If this was going on all the time, you could understand it. But you can also understand the restrictions. They don't want to get up there and have this thing completely ruined by some problems with COVID. So I think they're just being overly cautious now. The food, that might be a little bit disorganized there in terms of delivering food to them. But, you've got to, in a situation like this, to me, you got to suck it up and deal with the fact that this is an abnormal situation, and just be glad you're getting to play this thing, because a year ago we didn't get to.
Yeah, you know, there's definitely two sides to this. Obviously, you got to balance, like you said, just being safe. But I heard a story about, like, they got one water bottle, and you know, the coaches had to call and be like, look, these are athletes, they need more than one water bottle. I feel like there is a little bit of where's the logic in these who's making these decisions, because one water bottle per athlete doesn't seem very very smart.
Well, it is the NCAA. They could screw up a lot of things, and I, you know, I've said this before. I wish there were a new organization. A lot of people don't understand this. They don't get the concept. The NCAA works for college athletics. It is supported by all of it's like all of these member institutions went out and hired people to organize their tournaments, the activities, their rules, and all this stuff. So they are working for you. But it's almost like the government with us, too. They are telling us what to do. The NCAA is telling college athletics what to do, instead of college athletics saying, hey, you need to be a little more sensitive here. We like some changes here. What are you doing? They're tone deaf. And to me, you start all over. You just fire all those people and reorganize and get better rules and more efficient rules. And I don't know that it'll ever happen, but I'd love to see it.
If you're a player and you're having to be in your room, you know, because usually these guys are sharing rooms with somebody. They don't have roommates right now. They're by themselves. That's got to be hard. I mean, you got to be able to binge watch a lot of Netflix or something while you're just sitting around in your hotel room.
Well, that's got to be hard at their age now. At my age, it's no problem at all. I like doing that.
That's what you do on a daily basis.
I like some solitude, especially at the end of the day. But for them, it's got to be tough. But again, you just suck it up and deal with it, because now they're getting ready to play. So
yeah,
that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, we're about 15 minutes from tip-off. Of course, Arkansas and Colgate tipping off 11:45 on True TV. That is where you'll be able to find that game. Before we leave you, one last thing here. We're going to start with you, Mike, and I need you to give me your player of the game.
I just feel like it's going to be Moses Moody. I mean, every game he plays now could be his last game as a Razorback. I think he's aware of that. I think he wants to leave a legacy here. And plus, he's a really good player. And the NCAA tournament, to me, brings out the best in really good players.
Yeah, I think Moses Moody is going to have a big game, but I had to go with Justin Smith, and it's truly because the senior brings a lot of experience in this kind of environment. He has been to the NCAA tournament before with Indiana, and I think that just his composure, being able to know just what this situation is about, is going to be able to help lead this team, especially with some of these young guys like Moses Moody, Devo Davis. You're going to get Jalen Williams back, but anyone on this stage would be a little bit nervous when this thing first starts. And I also think, too, he's a little bit more hyped up because he's playing back in Indianapolis. Of course, played his first couple years of college basketball down the street in Bloomington at Assembly Hall with Indiana. So he's excited to be back around an area he knows really well, and I know he's excited to kind of show out. So Justin Smith is my player of the game. Mike, you said Moses Moody. We have a game to watch. We got to go get ready, set the DVR, set the recording, all that fun stuff that we do back here in studio. So we hope you are able to go watch the game, you know, take an extended lunch break, do something exciting, and be able to watch this Razorback game. Hey, maybe even your office is allowing you to turn it on a big screen somewhere or watch it at your desk or something. So we're hoping that when we come back, we're going to be talking about a win. We will jump on here at halftime so Mike can tell you how he feels about how things are going. And then, of course, we're hoping that Arkansas can beat Colgate and we can move on to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope to see you here at halftime after the game. And, of course, on all of our platforms, just hit up the Pig Trail Nation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Enjoy the game, everybody.